Yona, didn't you actually see me before I entered the park?
Stephanie, maybe, my father said, in his gentle Middle Eastern accent.
Yes, my mother persisted. You said you saw me on one of the side streets and started following me.
Possibly.
Into the park? Yes, into the park. Where else? You followed me for a while on the street, and I remember what you once said.
He looked suddenly guilty. What, Stephanie? What did I say?
You said that it wasn't until I was inside the park that you had the courage to walk up to me.
Correct, my father said, with a nonchalance he often used when he knew he'd been cornered.
So wait a second, I said, turning to my father. You mean if she'd never gone into the park, you wouldn't have tried to talk to her?
Correct.
The streets were too exposed, he said. Attractive as she was, it would have felt improper to strike up a conversation there. The park, though, was different. I scratched my head. But how? It was, he said, like stepping into a village. The park shrank the city. It slowed time. With its roving paths, its fountain and trees, it filtered away the facelessness and noise of the street. Once inside, he said, people ceased being strangers. For a fleeting moment, they were on common ground. They were sharing something. Not just the leaves and grass and water, but the human carnival. The park's habitués in those days, raffish New Yorkers sprawled on benches, picking at guitars, sipping from brown bags, were a sight to see. But so were the reactions they inspired in other people, like Stephanie Kruger. From the way she photographed people, up close and with obvious empathy, Yona felt as though he already knew something about her. She sees the image of God in human beings, he thought, even when they are not at their best.
The space was very important, my father told me during a springtime visit to our house to see his grandkids. The first thing I thought about when all my friends left that day was, where can I go where I can be around other people, and friendly people, people who are open to communication? Whereas the rest of the city was tall buildings and all the noise and subways and buses and people rushing everywhere, Washington Square Park was the opposite. Here you could just be with people without all the commotion. This was a place where you could be yourself. You didn't have to hide behind some mask. More than 4 decades had passed since they'd met. My father, a resident of Los Angeles since the early 1970s, hadn't set foot in the park for almost as long. I was surprised at the intensity of feeling. What was so bad about the rest of New York? I asked. The rest of the city alienates you in a way, he went on. If you are not with somebody when walking on the streets, you feel just smaller and smaller. The park was a small place where even if people didn't know each other before, they behaved like family. My mom, sitting across the kitchen table from him, couldn't resist a jab. In that park, especially, there were a bunch of oddballs. You probably felt like you could fit right in. So what about you, Mom? I asked. Did the park do anything for you? She assured me that for her, it was all business. She was there, she said, as a photographer. I went because I like to take pictures of the characters. My father, seeing his opening, cracked a smile. Were you also open to meeting a character? In the coming months, I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation. I felt it contained some important truth, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I always knew I had America to thank, at least in part, for my parents' meeting. But had I overlooked the role of Washington Square Park? Could a vibrant public space, in some subtle but essential way, play matchmaker? When I turned to books on the history of cities, I saw that their builders understood from the start the power of the built environment over how people think, feel, and act. The walls that Gilgamesh built around civilization's first city, Uruk, in what is now southern Iraq, in 2700 BCE, were both physical and symbolic.